What's going on, guys? Matthew back again, this time for another political video. Today we're going to be talking about the vice presidential debate between J.D. Vance and Tim Walz. Let's get into it. So the debate started with mentioning Iran because of the recent attack on Israel. I have here in my notes that Walz basically just talked about Trump and really had no solutions that he provided, while Vance talked about his past, which I understand you have to introduce yourself and give the people an idea of who you are and where you come from, but I thought that was very strange. Not a huge knock on Vance, but I would have rather he just get right into the answer. But then he moved into the answer where he defended Trump's policies in the past. And the biggest one is that there were no past wars while Trump was in office. He also mentioned that should be kind of up to Israel as far as how things go in terms of them and their conflict with other nations. They then moved to the hurricane and kind of made it about climate change. Vance said that he wanted to invest in American workers, and that we have too much stuff in China, and that we should not invest in dirty countries. And by dirty, he meant literally dirty, like pollution-wise. And Walz basically just commented on Kamala creating jobs in this country, which most of that job creation, quote unquote, is really just people getting their jobs back after not being able to go to work from COVID. And I have to mention what I call piggybacks. This is when let's say Walz will say something after he's asked a question. The commentator or the moderators will then piggyback by asking Vance a question related. Almost, to me, it kind of reminds me of like when referees get too involved in games, make themselves part of the game too much, and they piggyback off of Walz and Vance. And they did it, I think they did it a fair amount. I have to count, I have it in my notes here how many times they did it for each debater. But I don't like it. I would much rather them just ask the questions and let the two debaters check one another. Don't involve yourself in it. But you know how these moderators and people in the media, they see themselves as stars and they want to be a part of the narrative and have a lot of attention. It really gets on my nerves and I don't like it. They then moved to immigration and they started with Vance. Vance basically said that his answer was that he just wanted to kick out the criminal illegals first and then focus on those to cross the border illegally, because the fact is, it is a crime to cross the border illegally. Once you've done that, you are a criminal. But he wants to focus on the ones that are actually committing that crime and then committing other crimes as soon as they enter, which I do agree with. We have to start with those, the more criminal illegal aliens, and then go to the actual illegal aliens who, like I said, are criminals. And then when Walz was asked on immigration, he brought up that talking point about the bill that Trump denied. But the thing about that bill is that it would have capped illegal immigration at 5,000 illegal immigrants a day, and also would have given a lot of money to Ukraine. That is why Trump shot down that bill, and they're trying to use that against him. What they do in D.C. a lot is they try to pack these bills with as much stuff as they possibly can. They try to pack it with stuff that has nothing to do with what that bill is actually about. Why should there be money being given to Ukraine? Why should that be a part of that bill? That makes no sense. And then they do that so that the Republicans will shoot it down, and then they can say, oh, well, see, the Republicans aren't serious about stopping immigration, or illegal immigration, I should say. And then we did have another piggyback. This time it was in favor of Vance. But even though I want Vance and Trump to win, it doesn't matter. I don't want any piggybacks. I just want the moderators to ask the questions and let these debaters do their job. And this is when the one of the two biggest moments in the debate happened. They were trying to move to the economy, but Margaret Brennan, the one of the hosts at CBS, made an offhand comment about immigration and tried to fact check J.D. Vance. But he did a very good job, and this is what I love to see when debaters push back against the moderators and don't let them get away with it. He started mentioning the CBP app, which is apparently a phone app that allows illegal immigrants to get American status just by like applying on an app. He referred to it as like Kamala's magic wand. And he really pushed back on the moderator, and that was really good to see. It was a really great moment for Vance.
Clarifies for our viewers, Springfield, Ohio does have a large number of Haitian migrants who have legal status.
Well, Margaret, but
thank you, Senator. We have so much to get to.
Margaret, I think it's important because
we're going to turn now to the economy. Thank
Margaret,
you.
The rules were that you guys weren't going to fact check, and since you're fact checking me, I think it's important to say what's actually going on. So there's an application called the CBP One app, where you can go on as an illegal migrant, apply for asylum or apply for parole, and be granted legal status at the wave of a Kamala Harris open border wand. That is not a person coming in, applying for a green card and waiting for 10 years. That is the facilitation of illegal immigration, Margaret, by our own leadership.
Thank you, Senator, for describing the legal process. We have so much to get to, Senator.
The CBP One app has not been on the books since 1990. It's something that Kamala Harris created, Margaret.
Gentlemen, the audience can't hear you because your mics are cut.
It also did not make Margaret Brennan look very good either. They then moved to the economy, where WALZ, the common talking point about how Trump wants to give tax cuts to the top, and how they don't believe in trickle-down economics. And there was another piggyback here for WALZ. I try to make note of all the piggybacks just because they bother me so much. And Vance basically just said that he wants to bring manufacturing back to the U.S. And here we had another piggyback for Vance. Still don't like him, doesn't matter who it's for. And then from there, they moved to personal qualifications. And this was probably the second of the two biggest moments in the debate. Is actually, I have to give CBS credit here. They did kind of challenge WALZ on his claim to have been in China for the Tiananmen, I think it's pronounced Tiananmen Square incident. He said he was there for that, and he wasn't. It was proven that he wasn't. And then WALZ kind of called himself a knucklehead. And then even Margaret Brennan pushed back on that to make him talk a little more about it. And he did not give a good answer. And it was probably the biggest moment of the whole debate, and one that's kind of going viral right now.
Governor, just to follow up on that, the question was, can you explain the discrepancy?
All I said on this was I got there that summer and misspoke on this. So I will just, that's what I've said. So I was in Hong Kong and China during the democracy protests, went in. And from that, I learned a lot of what needed to be in governance.
And then to try to stay balanced, they then piggybacked for WALZ by asking Vance about his past, calling Trump Hitler, and not being for Trump. But Vance did it very well. He handled it very well. He said, I'm just going to be honest about being wrong about Trump, and that he did change his mind, like so many people have. I mean, if you look at the voting for 2020 compared to 2016, Trump had way more votes in 2020 compared to 2016, and that's from a lot of people that realized that he wasn't the monster that the media was trying to claim that he was. And so Vance is just being honest and saying that. He's one of those people that realized that he was being lied to, and he did his due diligence and looked into it himself and found that Trump was actually a good president. And from there, they moved to abortion, this is obviously the biggest issue for Democrats. I think it seems that they spent most of their time on abortion out of all the topics. I have here that WALZ talked about Trump, and he tried to use the rape of children to support abortion be illegal. That's a very tricky subject, obviously, but I do believe that those need to be separated from the topic of people just casually having abortions after consensual sex. Those need to be two completely different topics. If you're gonna, you can't put those together. You have people that just want to have consensual sex and then kill their babies because they don't want the headache of having children. That is demonic. That is awful. And then you have a completely different situation with children being raped by strangers and by their step-parents. And that's a much trickier situation. I personally believe that those children should be given government-funded health care to see the pregnancy through, give them what they need to stay safe. I understand that there's other situations where maybe it puts the girl's life in danger, but they should be given as many resources as they need to see the pregnancy through, so that both the girl and the child are safe, and then they have the opportunity for either that child's parents to raise that baby or to give it up for adoption. That's what I believe should be done in those very terrible situations, but they should absolutely be separated from consensual sex. It should not be the same topic. And then we have another situation where WALZ used a girl named Amber who had to travel to another state to get the what they call health care that she needed, and that she died on the way there. Again, I believe they said Amber was from Georgia, and I can't remember what state she was trying to make it to, but Amber should have been given the help that she needed by the government to see the pregnancy through, get the health care that she needed, and hopefully do everything they can to help her and the baby. Vance, this is something I don't agree with this. I guess you can call it a talking point. He says that we have to win the trust back on abortion. I think that's a mistake because it makes you sound like you're wrong when you say that. If you say we need to win their trust back, it kind of puts you in a negative light, one that you don't really that you deserve or need to have. I think that's a poor choice of words, and I don't agree with him saying that. But Vance did push back about a law in Minnesota, which WALZ is the governor of, about letting babies die who survive abortion. So basically, they try to abort the baby, and the baby miraculously survives and lives through it. And then after the baby's born, they then decide, do they want to just allow the baby to die, which is criminal and demonic, and people who do that should go to prison. That's absolutely awful. I don't know if that's actually the law in Minnesota. I do know, and I did cover on a previous video I made about how the former governor of Virginia was in favor of that, just letting the baby's delivered, and then they decide, do we let the baby live or not? That's just awful. There's no defending that at all. And then they moved to guns. Vance had a take that I do agree with, which is basically just we need to increase the security at schools and have more officers at the schools, have stronger doors and windows, and basically treat them like a fort. Now, Waltz pushed back, and he said at one moment, he said, do we really want our schools to look like forts? I say yes. Yes, I do. I would love it if our schools look like forts. I mean, you have even movie theaters, for example, they should have officers. There's nothing wrong with having protection. You can have the Second Amendment, the right to bear arms, and still have protection at schools and movie theaters. There's nothing wrong with that. There's no reason to take away guns from good Americans who only use them to hunt and defend themselves. It really is simpler than people like Waltz want to make it. From there, they moved to inflation, where Waltz talked about Kamala's policy to give money for houses, which would make the prices for houses to go up. Vance pushed back, talking about building houses on federal land to provide for more houses for Americans, and also to get illegals out of here so that they're not occupying houses that can be occupied by legal citizens, which I do agree with. If we have federal land that isn't being used for anything, you might as well build houses so that people have somewhere to live. But all in all, I thought it was a good debate. I think Vance definitely won. I mean, if you even watch CNN, they were discussing how it seemed that it was not a very good night for WALZ. Even the Democrat on Fox News said that he thought that Vance had a better debate than WALZ. And my note here for Vance is that he was very measured the entire time, from the word go all the way to the end. He was very measured, disciplined, and gave his answers very thoughtfully and very clearly. Waltz, on the other hand, was very flustered at the beginning. I think he kind of got it together a quarter or halfway through, but it was very obvious that he was kind of nervous at the beginning. Not a good sign for him, not a good sign for the Democrats. But I have to say, you can call me biased all you want, but Vance won that debate, just like Trump won the debate against Kamala. Very good night for Vance. He's getting a lot of good attention right now, and he will, at this point, if things stay the same, Vance will probably be president in 2028. But that's the review, guys. What y'all think? What y'all think about the debate? What did I get wrong? What did I get right? Let me know in the comments below. Please hit that like button and subscribe, and we'll catch you guys next time. Take it easy.